So yeah, if you're one of these people that you know multiple different languages and you're kind of like you're completely fluent in different languages, then kudos to you. Like I said, personally, I see it as a sign of intelligence in a certain way. Um, yeah, it's like even my kids, like, because my wife is French, I'm English, my wife is French. Both of my children are going to grow up to be able to speak, obviously, both English and French, if you see what I mean. They're going to be bilingual, if you see what I mean. So when they get older, that will hopefully open up some doors for them too, in terms of maybe in terms of their career or whatever the case may be. That's an added bonus, in life, in a way. It kind of, it gives them slightly more opportunities than the average person when it comes to looking for certain jobs and certain things later on in life. When they're old enough to, so.
I think mankind, like one day, hopefully we'll learn one language. If you see what I mean, and we won't have to learn so many languages. I think that'd be more intelligent, you see. If we didn't have to learn so many words, we'd become smarter together. We need one language. Like there was one language in the beginning, and you think like, how did language evolve and all this,
Yeah.
like how many, I know in the Bible, in that it says about this tribe spoke different tongues,
Yeah.
where they knew different languages and things, and they could tell a lot of people about something, if you see what I mean, in one day, because they knew different tongues.
Yeah.
So it is very useful knowing different languages, because you can communicate with a lot more people basically, and send the same message to one person. So
yeah.
So I'm happy knowing. I'm still learning English, to be honest with you. Still some words I still don't know today, or I might say some words not correctly or something, or sometimes I see something on the internet and there's a word I don't understand. I need to Google it to find out, and study that word to improve my vocabulary a little bit. That's what I try to do. But I feel like I mean, I'm coming up 3 years time. I'll be 60 years old, whatever, and I've got 70 and then 80. What's the point of learning so much, really? And then I'm just going to take off into space and be dead somewhere, if you see what I mean. Do we take this knowledge with us? That's the thing, I mean, if I learn French, does that mean I would go to heaven talking French as well? Or I haven't learned Chinese? And what language does God speak? Does he speak English, or does he speak all languages? Because he wrote the whole,
He's
wrote everything.
all knowing.
If you see what I mean. It's very interesting. But I know that man, basically, they invented language, the art of writing. They used to write on clay, and then slowly in time they must have sort of broken half and created two languages, you see. And it went a bit like that, I feel. They had to sort of learn different languages because they're from different places now, if you see what I mean, not one place anymore.
Yeah.
Learn in secret. And it's like with German, they were sort of learning lots of secret languages and things, learning lots of different codes and things and whatever. So but we are talking about mental health tonight.
Yeah.
And not language. But like even learning language, you got it. It's got a lot to do with mental health. I feel.
It's very important to look after your mental health. You have to find different activities or hobbies or passions or things that you like to do, and try your best to try and incorporate it into your life, into your busy life. Most people today have a very busy life, so try your best to incorporate some downtime into your life, if you see what I mean. Whether that be going around to a friend's house, for a few hours to chill out and relax, once or twice a week, or whatever it is that you choose to do. However you like to spend your downtime, whether it be listening to music somewhere quietly for half an hour to an hour, just away from the world, with just laying there with your eyes closed with your headphones on, or reading a book, or watching a football match, or whatever it is that you choose to do. But try to incorporate some downtime into your life, especially if you're a very busy person. Try to have a little bit. Try to have at least about an hour's worth of peace and quiet every day, if you can. If not, half an hour, at a minimum, but at least an hour. I would say an hour at least. Every person should have at least an hour a day to themselves, where they can just have time to think, or just time to relax, or time to unwind, or time to reflect, or time to just not think about anything, just relax, just have a peaceful moment of, kind of meditation. And some people even do that, some people meditate,
Well, I think that's another very important thing, meditation.
Yeah.
Very, very important. And I think it's something that, I never really used to do when I was married.
Yeah.
I never used to find the time to.
Mm.
I was either working or sort of just busy with my wife. And I wish I could go back in time and change myself a little bit. And like you say, it's very, very important just to sort of get an hour. And I'm not talking about sleep or anything else, just get an hour, relax somewhere, have a peaceful, quiet, and sort of think within yourself with your own inner thoughts about what you're going to do next in the future and all that sort of stuff. Meditate and relax. And yeah, I think it's just important to do that every day in life. And another important thing really is sort of like stepping out into nature.
Yeah.
Where there's wildlife, where there's maybe ducks and things like that, whatever. It's important, I feel. And I feel like, if you're living in, you're sort of like spending every day in the town centre every day, you're going to dream about it. That's it. And if you're going to go every day near the duck pond or whatever into beautiful nature, you're going to have better dreams, that's all I'm saying. And I just feel like the best meditation of all is going for walks, I feel. If you're ever angry for some reason, which I feel like in this world we're living in today, a lot of people are getting very angry, or a little bit angrier than they ever have done. One, because the price of living's gone up. And that's enough to anger people everywhere.
Yeah.
It's making things even harder than they were.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
And they were already hard in a kind of way, they're hard to save up, hard to do this or whatever. Everybody wants to win the lottery, don't they? And escape to heaven.
But I think people understand that, because we're talking about mental health, I think people kind of understand that financial freedom just does bring an element of peace of mind.
And fun.
And fun. Well, improvement of life in general. But peace of mind, but the reason I said peace of mind is because we're talking about mental health. It's like, once you've got a certain amount of money, you no longer have to think or worry about financial things. That is one less thing that is eliminated that you have to worry about in your life, if you see what I mean. Of course, you're still going to have problems like anyone else, like any other, human out there, any other, person on earth. Everyone has problems at some point in their life, But yeah, it eliminates that element of that, that financial worry, or any financial stress or financial burden, if you see what I mean, or anything that's, because sometimes especially in this day and age, in the world that we live in today, a lot of the reason that people struggle with mental health is financial, if you see what I mean. Like you said earlier, not being able to pay their rent, their bills, their mortgage and other things like this. This is the main stresses of a lot of people today. And because of that, it has a knock-on effect. And because of what we were talking about earlier again with the whole marriage thing, a lot of marriages usually end due to, the main two things are financial. The first one is financial. The biggest reason that a lot of marriages collapse, or they end up separating, whatever, is due to financial implications. And the other one obviously is infidelity, meaning obviously the cheating, being unfaithful, this kind of thing. But yeah, a lot of mental health issues today are kind of directly or indirectly caused by related to something financial, if you see what I mean. So yeah, yeah. I think people, you know, the more financially, that's why we always talk about it so often. A lot of our episodes, we always kind of talk a lot about being financially literate and financially educated and being able to be financially free. You know, and you know, financial freedom is basically having enough money to live the life that you want to live all the time. You know.
Yeah, little bit of money helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So like £1 million, like a magic bean.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm.
So if you had 10 magic beans, you know, like £10 million, that's even more magic, you know. And I say, I mean, it depends on everyone personally. If you had a lot of money, what would you actually do with it?
Yeah.
You know, some people would just go crazy and not even think about, you know, it depends on who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And how responsible you are in life, and how, because I know me, alright, like for instance, like I say, I don't own my own home here, okay, I'd love to own it, and if I did, that would help me mentally free in a kind of way, where I wouldn't have a headache of sort of struggling to pay my bills anymore. And it is a big problem to everyone, isn't it? Everyone's trying to struggle to pay the next person, or pay their bills, or make it on time every hour, to get to work on time, be punctual. And it's like me, I mean, I might have had a couple of days off at work when I was married and that, yeah. I think out of 13 years, I worked 12 of them, and I worked sometimes 6 days a week, and maybe that's working a little bit too hard, you see, you know, because love is a funny balance, you know. If you're working and doing too many hours, you're not cuddling your wife anymore, or the person you love, you see.
Yeah.
Or if you're starting to love your car, or go to football too much, you're not loving your children or loving your wife. Or
it's about finding a balance, isn't it?
You got to remember that cars are only objects in a kind of way, but people are real.
Yeah.
And people forget about that reality. I can't believe sometimes that people actually do fall in love with their cars. They give them names, and they actually really fall in love with them. There's a couple of films about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's one film called Christine.
Okay.
Christine, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about this evil devil car. And this owner, he falls in love with the car, do you know what I mean? And it kind of like starts having a mind of its own. But that's what world we're living in. We're living in a material world, and it might not be cars, it might be all kinds of things. Sometimes even girls or women fall in love with dollies, and they're collecting them. And they're not loving real things, are they? You sort of mean, they're loving plastic, if you sort of mean.
Yeah.
So that's a sad reality, you know, and that causes a lot of mental health problems too.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, say a married man, yeah, and he's got a family, but he buys a really nice car.
Yeah.
And he's out in it all the time, you know, he loves it so much, you know, and he goes to work, but he's kind of like forgetting about his daughter and his wife, and they feel rejected because of it. It gives them mental health issues, if you sort of mean. They're not getting the love that they should get.
Yeah.
If you sort of mean. So I feel like that, you know, there's so many people around the world, even myself, I admit to that. Sometimes I feel like I'm cracking up in this world, but you got to remember, it's not you going mentally ill, it's the world around you.
Yeah.
You got to keep you got to keep insane, really, and keep focused, and remember it's the world around you going mad, not yourself. Basically, that's what I say.
Yeah. I
feel like even the doctors, like I said, they're not being, in my experience, right, of all the doctors I've seen, they're pushing people down the ladder rather than helping them up. Because maybe they like keeping people in there so they keep employed and get more money. I don't know, do you know what I mean? But I just feel like there's a big mess out here in this society. It's all completely broken up. You know, it's like me. I mean, I've not seen my daughter for 8 years. You know, and it's just crazy to me that, because I feel like I've done nothing wrong. It's just that she said I'm not allowed to see him anymore, and nobody's helped me get him back. And my daughter has ended up going to school every day, and coming home, doing her homework, and just forgetting about me. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, you're no longer in the equation.
No,
so
you know, and it's just like I feel like I've had children, you know, and had a family, but I haven't got one anymore, and it's quite strange. I feel like a ghost.
Yeah.
In a funny way. I come from a huge family, by the way. A really big family, but slowly over the years, I'm on my own now. They've got, you know, most of my family's dead. You know, it's just very few people in my family, like my brother and my mum, who are in the family now. And like I say, I haven't seen my children for a number of years, and I don't blame my children for it. I blame it onto the system itself. They do it to people. They take people's children away from them and all this kind of stuff, and they're quiet about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not putting out on the news what they're doing.
Yeah.
So personally, I don't like doctors one bit anymore. I find them, personally, I know that some people say they help, but personally, my personal experience, I find them very dangerous, and they can mess up some innocent person's life up quite easily. That's how I feel, because that's what I feel like has happened to my life.
Yeah.
That I've done nothing wrong ever, and I'm not allowed to see my children. You know, I was even arrested from across the road, saying hi to her, and 3 days later the police called in and said, you know, questioning me for it. You know,
Yeah.
it makes you feel like, you know, you committed a murder offence, you know, or something. But you know, it's your daughter, your own daughter, who I watched being born, and they're sort of saying, "Did you talk to her like that?" And I think, then they put me on probation for a year. You know, and this is you know, torture, getting punished like this for loving your own daughter with your heart, you know, or wanting to see her, you know. And okay, I feel like what don't kill you makes you stronger. And I don't feel like I can go through any more torture than I already have, you know.
Yeah, you've endured.
Well, it does go on, you know, because like I'm not going to probably not going to see my daughter next month, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might not ever see her again. I don't even know if I'm a granddad today. And I don't even know if she's alive or not today, do you know what I mean? It's really like that. I just had to step clear from her, you know, because I thought my ex is dangerous. Every time I step near, she's phoning the police up. That's the truth.
Better to stay clear then, mate, like you said, you know.
That's what I've done, you know. I thought, sod that, do you know what I mean? And that's, you know, like, that's what causes mental health problems in this country, you know, because I think a lot of couples are breaking up. Marriage is becoming a little bit unfashionable.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And I think the reason being too is that, I hate to say it, but a lot of men in particular are realising today that marriage is more than just marriage, if you see what I mean. Marriage is almost essentially kind of like a business agreement in lots of different ways, you know. There's lots of financial things that are implicated within a marriage when you get married. And I think a lot of the younger generation in terms of men are realising that marriage isn't almost the most favourable thing for them from a financial perspective, especially if they're doing well for themselves and got a good job and got a good life and got it kind of going on for themselves. A lot of men are quite cautious today as to get married and making that commitment, and also for women too out there too, because sometimes the shoe is on the other foot too. Sometimes you get some very successful women very successful women who've got their own businesses and own whatever else, making lots of money, and they might be hesitant too to get married to someone who might, might be, someone who, they might be in love with the person but still hesitant because that person makes less money than them and has a different lifestyle to them, if you see what I mean, essentially. And they kind of understand that if they do get married and something goes wrong, and they do decide to get divorced and to go through with that proceedings, then there is financial implications because of that, and usually it's a 50-50, things get divided up 50-50. So especially you've got people who are wealthy and got quite a lot of money and assets and other things, they are very hesitant to get married because they understand that they could potentially lose a lot of their value, if you see what I mean, a lot of their equity, a lot of their assets, a lot of their finances, sometimes even
cruelty.
Their homes,
I wish we didn't live in this city system. Honestly, all this paperwork, it's just getting more complicated as you ask me. Like, so I wish we lived in a different planet and we had a much easier system where I just believe, like for instance, pigeons. Right? I mean, I feed the pigeons quite a lot, whatever. I've only been doing it for a year, but they stay devoted to the same partner. And so does most animals actually. It's just humans, right, that kind of they stray a little bit or something. And I think like what they did a long time ago, the Christian church, right, they decided everyone's going to get married.
Yeah.
It's going to sort of be a union. And if anyone sort of like has a child out of marriage, that's classed as a sin.
Yeah.
And that's
not really a sin, but it was more of one of those things where they were kind of embarrassed and disgraced for it, weren't they? They were basically saying that they were fornicating outside of marriage.
Well, the truth is, right, I'll tell you the truth, marriage has not always existed.
No.
It was invented, okay? And then, now it's been invented, right, whatever, and then two couples marry, put two golden little handcuffs, I call them, on their fingers, and they got to commit themselves for the rest of life, or otherwise, if they break away or divorce, it's a sin or something. Do you know what I mean? I mean, a long time ago when you first married, you couldn't divorce.
Well, there was only two other, because obviously everything is based, like you said, everything's kind of religious, based around the whole religious principle and aspect, especially in our, like even the country we live in today, the UK, it's very Christian, it's considered to be a Christian country for a long time. And the whole idea of marriage is a Christian concept, if you see what I mean. So there were two grounds, because obviously they were going according to the Bible, and in the Bible it says that if the person is unfaithful, if you see what I mean, or something else, there's two things essentially, that if they've committed infidelity, if they're unfaithful, cheated, whatever, either party or something else, then that person can file for a divorce essentially on those grounds, but outside of that, there wasn't supposed to be any divorce, if you see what I mean. As long as those two things were not committed, then if you see what I mean.
That's all crazy to me, to be honest with you, the whole lot of it. I say divorce didn't exist for many centuries, right? I think it's what's his name, King Henry V.
Eighth, I think,
sorry,
yeah. The eighth,
he invented the English church, and he made it enabled divorce possible, so people could pay for divorce since he made it.
Yeah.
Again,
a money thing.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted a divorce.
He wanted a divorce too as well.
I mean, he cut off five of his wife's heads off, like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because like he got married. I can't remember her name or something. I think her name was Anne, and he got married to her, and she had a baby girl. But he needed a boy.
Ah, okay.
For the next heir, and then the next one was I don't know, miscarriage. Yeah. So she had her head off.
Shit.
Well, that's what he's like. And then he got married to someone else, and then the same thing, he cut her head off because she couldn't have any kids. So, I mean, he was desperate for someone. It's just crazy, that he could do that in those days. He sent him into this big prison. That's the Tower of London. That's where he sent them, these people. And things were different in those days. I think, like for instance, Jews, they got a different sort of I don't know. You know, they're like women. Women Jews are not allowed to get married or something like that. Or I can't remember what it is. You know what I mean? But it's enough to cause mental health problems. If you ask me, all over. Where I just feel like I just wish I lived on a different planet than I've got, in a funny way. Where I mean, when I walk down the road here, there's chemist after chemist down here. So, you know, it's sort of like we're living, they're trying to sort of like the doctors are trying to put some heavy drugs on you. And I don't even know what they are, if you see what I'm saying. There's a lot of medication out there, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. Really, that's true. Yeah.
But me personally, since my divorce, went to the doctor, and like I said, they're not helping me. I think they want business in a kind of way, you know, and they take you for a ride in a funny way. And I feel like the doctors that did help me, they don't want to be your friend, or they don't want to come home afterwards and have a cup of tea with you, or anything like that. It's one of their rules, actually. They're not allowed to do that.
Well, a doctor, essentially, they're just providing a service, aren't they, like everything else? If you go to a restaurant, you're paying for a service, essentially. You're paying for, you know what I mean?
Meal.
Yeah, etc. The service, someone to wait on you and provide you with your food and beverage, and, you know, to ensure that your experience is pleasant and you have a good time and you enjoy what you're paying for. And obviously, we essentially pay, because we're in the UK, obviously, and we have the NHS, we pay for the doctors and everything else through our taxes, essentially. So we pay for it essentially through our taxes. So obviously, we don't have to pay for it physically, but we pay through our taxes. So they just provide a service, that's all it is. You go in and they, basically, it's like with medicine, yeah? They go to school for sometimes 6-7 years for medicine, yeah, to be a doctor or whatever else, yeah? But a lot of it you have to understand is textbook, if you see what I mean. It's them essentially learning all different types of medicine, if you see what I mean, and reading all these various different books and being educated on different types of medication, if you see what I mean. All what different medications do, what they're prescribed for, what their effects are, how they work, what their side effects are, all these various different things, if you see what I mean. That is the role of a doctor. They're going to school basically to learn about medicines, if you see what I mean. What they can prescribe for this, what to do for that, what ointment to apply for this. Is this, etc.
So I think
it's a broad field, if you see what I mean. So they're essentially, all they're doing is just like everything else, just providing a service. So when you go in there, you get seen for 15-20 minutes, because like sometimes you don't get longer than that today. You might get 15 minutes if you're lucky, 15-20 minutes to see the doctor, if you're lucky. And then yeah, it's like, you know, that you tell them your problems and they try their best. They might assess you quickly, and if things are not too severe, they might say, okay, this is what I think is wrong with you. It's never always a confirmation. It's based upon your symptoms and everything else that I can see or I can hear, and what I've been taught and I've learned. This is what I'm going to do for it. If you see what I mean, because I've learned that this medication works for this. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you've got a chest infection or pneumonia. You go to the doctors and they might listen to your chest, listen to your back, listen to your chest, listen to, try to hear your lungs, all that type of thing. And they might say, okay, I can hear that there's some crackling on your chest every time you inhale or exhale. I can hear that there's something, you've got something there. You need some antibiotics.
Yeah, well, I do feel like doctors might help physically when someone's got a cut, whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to mental, I find sometimes they make things worse for people out here.
Oh yeah.
And the truth is, we are living in most of us are own, don't we? Aren't we? We are own. We got a ticket on us, aren't we? When we're born, they put a ticket around our leg in a funny way. It's not like tied on a chain in a kind of way to us or anything like that. We can't see it. But it's a birth certificate. They give us all a birth certificate. We are own.
We are. And you get registered.
Every year that goes by,
yeah.
you've got to have Easter, you've got to have Christmas. Whether you like